Well, don't get in the shot.
What up?
Alright, so this is a brand new segment on fantasyfootballreporters.com. It's the waiver wire time. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, all on buys in Week 10, so let's get ready for it. First, I'm going to talk about Jacob Tamme, actually, who Frank mentioned a few weeks ago. To be honest, I didn't know who he was. But now I do. 17 receptions, 170 yards, 2 TDs in 2 games. So pay attention to him. He's available in 48% of leagues. So another guy on the Colts, Blair White, the receiver. Austin Coley's out. Gonzalez is on IR, and obviously Dallas Clark is out. And Peyton Manning doesn't really care who he throws the ball to. So look for White's production to go up as long as Coley's out at least. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he is owned in only 33% of leagues, and not exactly a huge day against the Bears, but not bad, 299. He had a touchdown, he did have 2 picks. But with Detroit and Cincinnati coming up, not a bad option if you had one of the aforementioned QBs. Heath Miller, the tight end for the Steelers, 48% owned. New England and Buffalo coming up. They give up a lot of passing. New England gives up a lot of passing yards, and they got blown out on the ground actually by Hillis last week. But New England's going to focus on the run this week, and that could open things up for Miller. LeGarrette Blount. This guy was weird. He made the biggest jump ever, or I've ever seen, in free agency, going from under 20% owned last week in Week 8 to over 80% owned in this past week, Week 9. He had a tough go of it against Atlanta, but he looks to bounce back in Week 10 against the terrible Panthers. Moving on to another quarterback, Chad Henne, 58% owned, coming off one of his worst games as a pro, actually. He's moving on to the bad passing defense of the Titans. They've given up 240 yards a game. You got to play the matchups if you have one of those QBs like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and Rivers, if you don't have a QB on your bench, especially. Steve Breston, Arizona looked halfway decent last week throwing the ball. Fitzy looked the best, but Breston looks to take advantage of next week's matchup, Seattle, who is pretty bad, 30th in the league against the pass. Mike Tolbert, we talked about Ryan Matthews going down, so Mike Tolbert looks to be getting at least the #1 reps and probably more and more reps as the season goes on. Like I said, I'm not sold on the San Diego wide receiver who had a great game this past week. I'm not going to say his name. Owned in only 0.5% of the leagues. The Chargers are on a bye, and after that, they got some receivers coming back from injuries. So the next wide receiver we'll talk about is Steve Johnson for the Bills. Not sure what 37% of leagues are thinking about out there, waiting for this guy to do. In the last 4 games, he's averaging 7 receptions, over 96 yards a game, and a touchdown a game. Now that Parrish is out for the year with a wrist injury, Johnson could get more than 14 targets that he saw last Sunday, if that's even possible. For a full list of waiver wire pickups, check out the site, www.fantasyfootballreporters.com. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.